I want to talk about forgiveness, right? A client asked me the other day, they said, how do I know when I've forgiven somebody? And I told them, you know when you've forgiven somebody because you no longer feel like you need some kind of justice or consequence to happen to this person. Does that make sense? Whether you feel like you've forgiven somebody, but it still eats at you, or if you know you haven't forgiven them and you don't know how, this is what we need to talk about. Because forgiveness isn't what you think it is. It's not letting somebody off the hook. It's not telling anybody what you did was okay. Forgiveness is about setting yourself free. It has so little to do with the other person and so much with your own personal progression. Let's be real. If somebody hurts you, like a betrayal, manipulation, cruelty, abuse, maybe they did something once, maybe they did something every single day, and now the world just expects you to forgive. Or maybe you expect you to forgive. Here's a question my dad taught me, and I now like to ask my clients. As you fill in the blank, the main reason I can't forgive this person is because, now take a second, fill in the blank, say it in your head, maybe write it down if you have to, right? Most people will say something like, the main reason I can't forgive this person is because I need them to understand how much they hurt me before I'll forgive them. The main reason I can't forgive them is because I don't want them to get away with it. I don't want them to do it to somebody else. Another one is, if I forgive them, they win and I lose. And here's one of the harder ones to admit. If I forgive them, then people won't realize how much I suffered. It's a trap, right? It's a trap that we don't even realize that we're falling into. See, when somebody wrongs you, they make you their victim. And at first, that's just the truth of it. Like, you were hurt, you were betrayed, you were treated unfairly. But what happens when you stay in that role, still saying, I need people to realize that I was the victim here. I need people to know that they're the bad guy. I was the good guy. Because, like if you're dealing with like somebody who everybody adores, but they hurt you bad, sometimes you'll play victim for a really long time and say, I'm not going to forgive them because everybody thinks they're great. Everybody thinks that they're the good guy in the story. And I need them to know that they're the villain and that I'm the protagonist. I'm the victim here. And so if you stay in that role, it begins to define you. Pain doesn't just linger. It tends to shape people. It changes the way we see the world, how you see the world, how you see everything. At first, when you first hurt, it feels like a wound, something raw, something unbearable. Over time, it becomes an identity. You stop seeing yourself as a person who was hurt and start seeing yourself as a hurt person. The pain stops being something that you carry and starts being something that you are. And it probably starts kind of small. Like you'll catch yourself thinking things like, I just can't trust people anymore. No one understands what I've been through. Why does this always happen to me? And before you know it, the pain owns you, right? The person who hurt you is still hurting you. You push people away before they can hurt you. You expect betrayal. I know a lot of people who've been cheated on, ghosted, right? They expect those things. Your brain has formed a template. If I've been betrayed, now I'm going to be betrayed, right? Maybe you start assuming the worst in people or feel like you can't open up. And the worst part, it kind of feels safe-ish. If I never trust anybody, then nobody can betray me. Right? I remember there was a time, there was a girl that I was dating, she cheated on me. And I remember talking to the girl who's now my wife, before we ever dated. And I told her, I was like, I can't date you because the fastest way to get a girl to cheat on you is to turn them into a girlfriend. Because if you're just friends, friends can't cheat. And I thought that was keeping me safe when really it was just slowing me down. If you stay the victim, it feels like you don't need to risk anything. It's super easy if you feel like you get to be right, if you get to be justified, if you get to say something like, see, look at what they did to me. That's a real trap, because when we refuse to forgive, we think we're protecting ourselves and staying strong. But in reality, we're just keeping ourselves weak, because the victim means one thing. Someone else is in control of your life. Your happiness, they hold it, right? The peace, they control it. Your ability to move forward, it's still in their hands. Because when they hurt you, they already took something from you. Your trust, your sense of security, safety, right? Your peace. But for whatever reason, we just let them keep taking. Why would you want them to own you forever? By being their victim, you're saying, I am never allowed to feel the way that I want to feel because something happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it might be. Maybe it's an hour ago. But let's be clear. It's not about blaming yourself for what happened. This is about refusing to let it define you. Because yes, they hurt you. Yes, it was real. Yeah, it changed you. But at some point, you need to decide, are you going to let this be the story of your pain or the story of your strength? So let me put it this way. Imagine that the person who hurt you, they came up to you with a knife, okay? And you can close your eyes and you can picture this. Visualize it if you'd like to, right? But I want you to picture the person who hurt you, and I want you to visualize that they stab you with it. Maybe they stab you in the shoulder, maybe they stab you in the back. Deep, painful, unforgivable. Now you have two choices. You need to get the knife out and start healing, or you leave it in and you suffer. And the truth is, if you leave the knife in, every time you bump into something similar, it's going to hurt all over again. You might start avoiding people altogether because any interaction could bump into that knife. You blame the person who stabbed you for why you're still in pain, because the knife is there in the first place because of them, right? But let me ask you this. At this point, is it the original wound or the fact that the knife is still there that's hurting you? Forgiveness isn't saying that it's okay that that person stabbed you. Knife in the back, the knee, the shoulder, whatever it is in your mind's eye, right? It's not saying that it's okay. It's saying, I refuse to walk around with this knife in my body any longer. They may have been responsible for the wound, but only you can be responsible for the healing. And I get it. Our brains are wired for justice, right? Psychologists call it the just world hypothesis, the belief that people should get what they deserve. Good people should be rewarded, evil people should be punished. That's why revenge feels so satisfying, at least like in the moment. And that's why some of the most compelling stories that are ever told are built around justice and revenge. You can think about Batman. Batman. Child who watches his parents get murdered, and that rage fuels his entire life. But imagine how much more powerful the story of Batman would be if he actually forgave. Not in weakness, not in surrender, but in strength. Batman would be unstoppable if he pulled that knife out and fought for justice from a place of peace instead of pain. I know that would kind of ruin Batman for a lot of people, but I think a forgiveness story would be cool. Everything's so much more complicated, more nuanced than we realize. Different story. Let's talk about John Wick. John Wick's story is super simple. You killed my dog, so now I'm going to kill you and anybody else that gets in my way. But then what happens? He kills, and now other people are like, hey, you killed my friend, so I'll kill you. And the cycle never ends. And the world built in the John Wick universe, it's built on revenge, and it collapses under its own weight because justice through revenge only creates more pain. And I get it. John Wick isn't meant to be a deep meditation on morality. It's a stunt reel made by stuntmen, and it's awesome, right? Cool. Art, I guess. But how much more powerful would the John Wick movies have been? Instead of killing until he died, he learned how to forgive. What if the resolution wasn't just more bloodshed until death, but what if the resolution of John Wick was inner peace? That's all he wanted the whole time and he never got it. What if peace was the end? That'd be awesome. I think that'd be cool, right? But we do crave stories of justice. And what we really need are more stories of transcendence, of forgiveness, because real strength isn't just holding on to pain and killing everybody who ever hurts you. It's about letting go. So for example, I remember when I was a kid, I was molested by a distant family member of mine. All right, I don't super like talking about it, but here I am putting it on the internet, so whatever. For a long time, I told myself I would never forgive this family member until he realized how much harm it caused me, especially in my later years, and how many limiting beliefs it had left me with, right? This is when I was 5. And here I am at 30, and I'm still trying to heal from the abuse that happened from 5 to 7 or whatever it was, right? I really wanted this relative to go to jail. I wouldn't forgive him until he felt the pain that I carried. But honestly, I don't know if he ever did. I'm really I'm not connected to this guy. Maybe he lived his life free. Meanwhile, I was kind of walking around with a knife in my shoulder, and one day I realized something. I was waiting for this relative to take responsibility, but I was the one carrying the weight. I was the one with the knife in the shoulder. So I made a choice, not necessarily to forget, not to make an excuse, not to excuse him, but to try to take the knife out, because he may have been responsible for the past, but I refuse to let him be responsible for my future. And that's the thing about this life. We like to say things like, but it's not my fault. And guess what? I was 5. It wasn't my fault. It's genuinely not your fault. But that doesn't mean it's not your responsibility to heal. It's a hard thing to realize, but once it clicks, it can change everything. It's not your fault, but it's still your responsibility. It's not fair. But once you take responsibility, it's very, very empowering because you're no longer waiting for somebody that's not in your life to fix something. So how do we actually do this? Not just intellectually, but emotionally. How do we forgive somebody who has genuinely wronged us? One thing is, I think we need to start seeing the person, not just the pain that they caused, especially if this is somebody that you're seeing on a regular basis. I don't see this relative who molested me. I don't see them. They're not in my life. But if this is somebody that you're going to see regularly, if this is a spouse that hurt you and you're mad at them, maybe they did it on purpose, maybe they didn't. We are in pain, and you need to start seeing the person, not the pain they caused. People hurt others for 3 reasons, right? Ignorance, weakness, or pain themselves, right? They say hurting people hurt people. You don't want to become a hurt person who's hurting people because of a hurt person who hurt you. Again, this doesn't justify what they did, but when you stop seeing them as a monster and start seeing them as a broken human, you take away their power over you. So again, number 1, you need to start seeing the person, not the pain that they caused. Step 2, this is hard, but you need to release the need for an apology. Some people will never admit that they were wrong. Ever, right? Some people will never give you the closure you deserve. And here's the thing, closure's never given, it's created. And you don't need their permission to heal. You are not what happened to you. Let it go. Again, when you're letting go, it's not for the person. You're not forgiving them so that they can stand before God at the judgment bar and go to heaven, right? You're not forgiving them for them. You're forgiving them for you. Does that distinction make sense? It's for you. You have to let go for you. Also acknowledge, this is really important. Right? Like I said, I'm trying to pull the knife out of my shoulder for the abuse that I suffered when I was 5. Forgiveness isn't a single moment. Forgiveness is a choice that you make every single day. It's a process. Some days that anger will creep back in. It does. And that's okay. Just remind yourself that you're not forgiving because they deserve forgiveness. You are forgiving because you deserve peace. And if nobody has told you that you deserve peace, this is me telling you now. You do deserve peace. You are stronger than what happened to you. Go claim your freedom. You are in charge. You don't need to be a victim any longer.